Welcome to the Ambitious Introvert podcast, created especially for introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive entrepreneurs to help you build, grow, and scale a successful, sustainable business. I'm your host, Emma-Louise Parks, business and mindset coach for ambitious introverts. After 17 years working as an air traffic controller, the ultimate fast-paced, high-stimulus, extrovert-friendly role, my mission now is to show introverts that they too can create big results and success because of who they are, not in spite of it. I focus on introvert-friendly business and marketing strategy to help you switch overwhelm for clarity, confidence, and clients. Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Ambitious Introvert podcast, and I'm really excited about today's guest because not only is she fabulous, she is one of, and she's smiling on the video, she is one of the reasons that this podcast exists, because I worked with Hilary to really get clear on my niche, my brand, my messaging, everything through her Brand Polish Academy. And what came out the other side of it was that I wanted to work with ambitious introverts. And 6 months later, here we are. So Hilary, thank you so much for being a guest.
Oh my gosh, this is such an honor. And I'm so excited because to watch someone go from trying to figure out the focus and get clear and create something that speaks to a specific niche to then the niche is even the name of your podcast. It's so cohesive. It's so clear. It's so focused on helping the needs of these ambitious introverts, which is such a beautiful way of describing your audience. I love it. I love it. I'm super happy to be here.
Hilary, tell my audience all about you and your business and your background.
Yeah, I mean, I actually spent 15 years in corporate, a little more than that, but 15 years at Disney in corporate, where I was a movie marketer. So I did brand strategy, I did synergy work, and I did integrated marketing across the entire company to help promote all of our film releases from Disney and Pixar and Touchstone and Dreamworks and Marvel. And then we acquired Lucasfilm before I left. So it was a bunch of different global entertainment brands and keeping them the experience that the customers and the fans expected to the same level of their expectations, and then to go beyond it and always be surprising and delighting them. So that's the background I come from. But now for the past few years, I'm a brand strategist for entrepreneurs. And specifically, I work with online business owners who are either selling some kind of digital product or a service of any kind. So basically, it's you and your expertise and your talent that your audience is looking to be a part of. And that's who I help build your brand. So it's clear, it's cohesive, and it's compelling to attract your dream client.
And I ended up going through Hilary's Brand Polish Academy quite randomly. And it was definitely one of the best things that I've done for my business. I'll just tell the listeners a little bit about where I was before we started. Yeah. So I was in this situation where I'd been coaching for, 14 years. I had all this corporate coaching experience. I got qualifications and credentials coming out of my ears. And it was all from a place of, you are a coach. You can coach anyone to do anything. You don't need to be an expert in the area, because coaching obviously is about powerful questioning and helping people reach their potential. And then I'd moved my business online. And everyone went, oh, you need to niche. And I was like, no, I can help anyone do anything.
I know this comment very well.
That's what coaching school tells me. So yes. I had gone through this period of having, I was getting clients, but I was very insipid, I'm going to say, in my messaging. I had the kind of content that people go, oh, that's nice, and scroll on. Not that went, oh, you're my person and I need to hire you immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that was the big difference. So going through the Brand Polish Academy I loved the way, actually, tell the listeners, I love the way it was structured, because I love how you broke it down from like day one to really get us to think about our businesses.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think, there's some education that comes in too when you're introducing a program like Brand Polish Academy, because it's not, some people think branding is one thing, or it's another thing, or it's only one little part of it. Like if you start with your logo and your fonts and your color palette, that is a part of your branding, but that's not your full brand strategy. That's not your entire brand. Your brand is basically an experience. It's the experience that you are providing to your ideal client. So it first starts with figuring out, like you did, who are these ideal clients that you want to serve, and what perception do you want them to have of your business so that they know they're in the exact right place. And then everything after that, when we're building your brand strategy, is all about positioning every aspect of your business and your messaging to serve that ideal client so that you're speaking directly to them. So like what you said, now instead of you doing everything for everybody, you're actually having specific people land on your website or on your Instagram or on a call with you or landing on this podcast and listening to it. And they're like, how does she know exactly what I need? How does she know exactly what I feel? Right? Because your brand is basically a feeling. And it's why I worked in movies for so long, because I'm attracted to creating and capturing a feeling and an experience. It's about telling the right story to the right person so that they're moved. And when someone's moved, they're moving into action to do the thing that they want to do. And that's what inspires me about branding. And that's what I try to capture and try to teach through the Brand Polish Academy experience that you went through.
And someone had just reached out to me today on Facebook, and someone had said a very similar thing on Instagram the other week. They were like, I love your website or Instagram, whichever it was, because it's really calm.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, because I work with introverts and empaths and highly sensitive people, and I don't want it to be bright and colorful and noisy. I want them to feel like calm and understood. For me, because I was my mirror client, that was easy, because I was like, what am I attracted to in branding, fonts, colors? It's this.
Well, that's such a beautiful way of actually telling that story too, because you have to put yourself in your client's shoes and say, how do they want to feel so that they're taken care of, and so we can come to a solution for them, right? And the fact that your folks are highly sensitive and they need a calm environment to think clearly, to really put things into focus, it's like, of course you want them to feel like that every time you come on your website. But this is a great example of how brand strategy informs design. Brand strategy informs your fonts, your colors, your logos. Brand strategy informs your message and how you talk to your ideal clients. It's not the other way around. If you're trying to reverse engineer it, you'll find yourself going down many different paths and changing your mind a lot.
So for any newer entrepreneurs, don't go out and get a logo and color palette designed as the first thing before you've even thought about your business.
I know it's very counterintuitive. It's literally is the first thing people think of, right? You think of, let me establish like an LLC, like my legal business. And then, I need business cards or I need a website. So I must have a logo. And so people naturally go there. It's not like weird that people go to that first. It's a very natural inclination, but if you start with strategy, it will inform everything and it will create a very clear and cohesive brand, which is what you want to attract the best people to your business.
And there's so much that we could discuss about this and around branding and from the Brand Polish Academy. But the one thing that we decided was probably the most beneficial and the easiest to digest for people to start was this idea of brand perception. Like you've just said, like, how do people feel when they land on you? What do they think about your brand, about your website, about you?
Yeah, it's such a great place to start, because that's sort of like the bigger picture that you're thinking about. If you're thinking about who you're trying to attract, your brand is all about how your customers perceive your business. And really, if you think about it this way, it's the impression that you, if you're a personal brand, or your business, if you're a business brand, it's the impression that you leave so that they have a certain feeling, so that they are going away thinking about it in a certain way, so that it could even be, honestly, all the way down to a scent for your business. If you're an in-person business, it could be the aesthetics of your business, but it's literally every impression that you leave at every single touch point of your brand. And so in order to start with that, in order to like rein that in and say, well, how do I even do that? I like to do an exercise where we talk about what do you want to be known for? right, from your ideal clients, and you're choosing the words that you want your brand to be known for. And I say it starts with probably a slew of words, right? It's like when you start thinking about all of these words, like, what should my business stand for? What do I want to be known for? What would attract and help my ideal clients? You start thinking about all these words, and I often have my clients go out and do sort of a current brand perception exercise. And you go out and ask your current clients. And if they're not the clients that you want in the future, then don't ask them, because it's not where you want to go. If you're switching audiences, then you just start fresh. But if you have people who are your favorite clients and are people who represent who you want to work with moving forward, go and ask them. Say, hey, if you had to describe my brand in 3 words, what would you say? And have them give you some words and start collecting some words and see what you think. It doesn't mean you need to keep those words, but it gives you a starting point to say, what do people actually currently think about my business?
And that was so beneficial to me, because I went and did that with people that I'd worked with previously or that I was still working with. I think I asked them for 3 words to describe the brand. And I also asked them for 3 words to describe how they felt during our sessions or from working with me.
Beautiful.
You know, to get this whole perception. And it was so interesting because the same words came back over and over again. And I was like, oh, good. I want people to feel like that. You could really tell the ones that resonated with me.
Yes, it's perfect. And by the way, you wouldn't ask someone who if they represent a type of person or a type of client you don't want to work with moving forward, don't ask them, right? You're not going to listen to them. You want to listen to the people who are your favorite clients that you want to attract more of, or you're just going to put yourself in their shoes too, right? Sometimes you are the mirror of your ideal client. And so if you actually just think about, where was I at this point in time? If I was reaching out to a coach, where was I? How was I feeling? What did I need? And you start thinking about that. You know, everybody, and oftentimes I will say this too, and I think this was your experience as well, is people are telling you the words over and over again, which represents how you show up. So even if your intention wasn't there yet, now with this exercise, you're actually seeing like, oh, they do think this and this and this. That actually just clarifies it and solidifies it in your mind to say, okay, this is what they're getting out of it. This is how I'm showing up. Now, if I actually take a step back and intentionally show up in this way, using these words, and we'll get to some examples of words, it actually allows your brand to feel very clear and very cohesive, and it makes it easier for you to actually put it through the filter of those words and make decisions in your business. It's weird. It's like 5 words can make all the difference in how you show up to create a clear and cohesive brand.
And it is so true. And I was going to ask you what your recommended sweet spot is.
Yes.
5.
I do say 5 words. If you could do it in less, fantastic. But it's trying to get you not to put 10 words down there or more, right? It's like, and if you start having that many words, it's like usually you find words that often are a little bit similar or kind of mean something. So you're trying to find that one word that means a lot of things to you. And I always have people, like once they choose their words and they're like, I think this is it, this is feeling really good, I actually have them go back and define what that word means to them for their business. Because something like inspiring, which is one of my brand words, a lot of people might have that word for their business. It's going to mean something a little bit different for every brand. And so describing and defining what it means for yours is important for you, so you know how you're showing up that way.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, because when I look at some of mine, they could be taken in different ways or utilized in different ways. Not that that would be wrong, but I've got a very strong idea of what they mean to me and what they mean for my brands.
Yes. Well, and also if you have to think about it from your ideal client's perspective. So if like growth is one of your key brand words, that's going to mean something drastically different for someone who's targeting ambitious introverts versus someone who's targeting like standout, highly visible extroverts. It means something different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally different. And I love having this filter, as you call it. I call it my little lens. And And so the way I use it is, which Hilary's very pleased about that I actually use it.
So please, wait, will you tell them the words first?
Of course. So my 5 brand words are potential, growth, inspiration, friendliness, and understanding.
Yes. Yes. And so how do you then filter everything in your business through those words to create the perception of your brand?
So everything that I do, whether it's a piece of content that I create, like the podcast or a live video or written content, newsletter, anything, I put it through that. And I want it ideally to tick all of the boxes.
Yeah.
It can't always do that, but it definitely has to tick the majority. So, yeah. And the way I see them is I want to help people reach their potential. Mm-hmm. So it's that kind of, which goes kind of hand in hand with the growth. So everything that I'm doing, because I'm a mindset coach, is about a growth mindset and about that potential people have for growth. Obviously, the inspiration, I want people to feel inspired. So I never used fear-based copy.
Yeah.
I never use if you don't sign up with me, you'll fail and do that. Like I don't like that. So everything's from a place of inspiration and very future focused.
Good.
Yeah, 100%, because I think that's inspired. I want people to read it and come away feeling inspired, or listen to an episode and feel inspired to take action, to grow, to reach their potential.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Look at all those words, people.
I know. And also the friendliness was just because I think that that's my brand. Like, I'm quite smiley and friendly, and I didn't want it to be this, oh, I'm up here on a pedestal, like teaching you what to do. I wanted that connection of, feeling friendly. So my language is always very friendly. It's not formal. I use a lot of script font in my newsletter, and understood is possibly the most important one, I think, for me. So that comes down to really clear use of words as well. So I keep everything quite clear, so it's easy to understand. I don't use jargon, but it's also about, I think, being an introvert, empath, and highly sensitive, and not really understanding that I was any of those things until my late 30s.
Yeah.
You don't feel understood. I spent a lot of my life not feeling understood by people. And then I came into the online space and I worked with coaches that didn't understand me. And I didn't feel understood and I couldn't make progress. And so that's a huge thing for me. I want my clients to go, yes, she gets me, she understands me, because when we feel understood, that's when we can really grow and hit our potential. Guys, have you joined the Facebook group yet? If not, head on over there, the Ambitious Introvert Network. The link is in the show notes. And I would love to have you there, because I am so passionate about giving you ambitious introverts this space where you can go and be yourself. You can promote your offers. You can share your services. You can share your content. You can intro yourself. You can build relationships with other ambitious introverts, all in this introvert-friendly, safe space that I've created. And nothing would make me happier than to have you join. We also have weekly introvert co-working sessions. We do free weekly hot seat group coaching, and you'll find content and video training in there that you can't get anywhere else outside of the group. So head over, join us today, introduce yourself, and become a really active part of the Ambitious Introvert Network.
I mean, look at these words just coming together and everything you do. And I'm sure these words show up in your copy like crazy too. Right? Yeah. And if you're thinking about who to have on your podcast and what to share, right? It's like all of these words are getting ticked off. And what you said is so accurate though too. It's like when you have your 5 key brand words, and by the way, that's why we don't have 10 or 20. You don't want to have to be filtering everything through that many words. And you should be able to create these, become sort of the pillars of your brand, right? That it stands on. And you don't want to have to basically keep inventing ways of doing it when you can fall back on these are your 5 words. But you don't have to show up as the 5 at all times in every way, right? If you're creating a piece of content, for instance, and it ticks 3 of the boxes, that's okay, because the next time you're going to probably tick the other 2.
And I think with practice, it tends to be that it all gels into one. You know, it just becomes a very natural process. Like that's how I write, or, you know, that's how I record. And you saying about the podcast, like I've turned so many people down as guests. And I'm not even sorry about it, but you know, most of the guests are people that I'm connected to or that are recommended to me, or you know, that I've admired and I've reached out to. But sometimes people have connected and asked to be a guest, and we'll have a little chat, a little virtual coffee, and almost straight away, because I'm highly sensitive, I'm like, no. Like, people want to come on and tell their sob story, or, you know, but I'm going, are you going to inspire my audience? You know, are you going to help them grow? Are you going to help them reach their potential? Are you a friendly person? And
by the way, this is such a beautiful thing it's like a great measuring stick for everything. So you can even communicate that way. It's an easier way to tell someone no too, right? You can say, hey, you know, this was a great conversation, but, you know, my brand stands for these things. And unfortunately, that's just not, I mean, you're something else completely unique. And I think you fit on a different kind of podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the beauty of using these words, not only to find the right people, but also to say no to the wrong opportunities, the wrong content, the wrong people. And that's the beauty of it. When you have a brand, you have the ability to say no because you're so clear on who is yes.
And it makes writing content and copy so easy, because when I wrote the podcast website and I wrote the guest info page as well that I send out to people, it's like this, it's basically, I created this podcast to inspire ambitious introverts to reach their potential and grow whilst feeling understood. You know, so it just makes sense. And people read it and they go, oh, okay, that's what it's for. Like, it's an inspirational, it's like a growth podcast. It's for these people.
Yeah. It's clear. And that's all that we're doing when we're creating a brand. And I think, you know, people can be a little overwhelmed by what it all means. They don't know what's all included in creating a brand and a brand strategy. And a strategy is just the plan to help you achieve the kind of brand you want to have in the market, right? And it's not that overwhelming when you break it down and you just take it step by step, which is why I have something like the Brand Polish Academy, because it's literally broken down and we just go step by step by step. And we just, so that you finally, by the end, you're fully clear on who you're serving and how to reach them. That's it.
And it's so good. I love it. But for anyone that is listening that's maybe really, really new to business, they haven't worked with many clients, or maybe they're pivoting, like you say, to do something completely different, serve completely different people, and they want to really make the most of this, what would you suggest to them for trying to find their 5 words if they can't kind of crowdsource the answer from previous clients?
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't had clients before, actually what I recommend that you do, first of all, is look online, look on Instagram, and look at who you're attracted to, who, like, if you're finding someone, you're like, man, if I could only work with that person, like if that person could be my client, that feels like really good to me. Just start looking around at that and see, like, who is that type of person. But also, I would say the very first thing I would do is do that mirror test we talked about. Like, are you a version of your ideal client? Have you needed what you're serving up now in the past, right? You've gotten some results, and so that you can actually ask yourself the questions. But I always recommend, even if you haven't had clients, go find some people who you feel like would be your ideal clients. And this is going to evolve over time as you start to have clients. You'll get clearer and clearer. But to start, find some people who you think would be ideal clients. And it's not your Aunt Vicky, and it's not your dad, okay? These are real people, but in a space that actually you can serve well, uniquely, by what you're made to do. And go ask them for a 15-minute informational interview, and just pick their brain a little bit and ask them about their needs and their challenges based on what you do and what you offer, and see the kinds of words that they bring up, right? If, like, everybody who gets on the phone with me, they're asking for clarity, they're asking for confidence, they're asking for a cohesive brand, right? They always say inspiring or inspiration when it comes to me. And honestly, the number of times this word has come up, and so it's become a key brand word for my brand, is magic. And that's sort of the transformation, that aha moment, that, like, holy moly, it's here. I've actually figured it out. And like, that's just one of the words that comes up. So it's now one of the things that I show up as, is like, what's that magical transformation that you can have when you get the clarity and you finally feel like you have a cohesive brand with a purpose and you're confident about showing up in the world in that way. But if you're just starting, you're fine. It's okay. You're going to start one way. Just like you heard Emma-Louise, she was like, I've been in business for 14 years, right? She started one way, serving coaching, mindset coaching for anyone who wanted mindset coaching, anyone, right? Because she had the tools and she could actually do it. But who she loves to serve is people like her, people who are ambitious introverts, people who need a little extra care with how you approach them and the energy that they need in order to do the things that they want to do. She knows how to talk to those people because she's one of them. So think about that. Think about your unique blend of who you are, where you've come from, what you need. It doesn't work all the time depending on your business, but if you're in a service providing business, I promise you that you are probably a version of your own ideal client, and you can start with you.
You know, the fact that your word is magic, which I love that being one of your words. I got to tell you, because I'm very visual, you know, rich inner person, because introvert. So there's always like a whole, you know, visual narrative going on inside my brain. Whenever you say that, I picture, and it's because of your background, Mickey Mouse in the Fantasia, you know, when he's got the wizard's hat and that's the magic, because my brain, you know, gets the whole concept pictorially. It's like, oh, it's Hilary and it's the magic and it's Disney.
Well, and it's funny because where I come from is like I worked on a brand campaign for Disney called Magic Happens, right? It's just a beautiful thing. Disney's known for magic. I mean, even the logo, the film release logo, the animated logo is Tinkerbell coming over the castle and doing ding, and it says Walt Disney Pictures, right? So like I would see that every day, all day, right? So honestly, when people start saying that to me, I think it is a combination of knowing I come from a Disney background and the kind of transformation I provide. I swear that people come to me for, usually the way my brain works is sort of like the magic part, right? I almost have what I call a brand polish filter in my head. So if you're saying words to me, I'm like listening and reading in between the lines, and then what comes out of my mouth is usually people are saying, oh no, are we recording this? Because I'll just start spewing messaging for people and they're like, I need to write that down right away, because that's like the best I've heard that described for my own business, right? And so it's just something that my brain is good at, which is why I do what I do. Everyone needs to stay in their zone of genius and do the thing they're best at for the clients who need that most.
And I think that clarity is a big piece, because people often have so many ideas around in their head, or they kind of know who they want to help and what they want to achieve. But if they're not so good with the words, actually putting that out can be really difficult. They've got all the passion and all the ideas, but it's like, how do I articulate this so that people read it and go, yes, I need that service?
That is literally the number one need that my clients come to me with, is like, I have all this in my head. I know what I want to do. I know who I want to serve, or I need help focusing who I want to serve sometimes, but I don't know how to say it. Like, how do I say it in a way that gets them excited and is attracting the right people, not just anybody?
And certainly for ambitious introverts, getting that clarity and getting out of overwhelm is the hugest thing, which is really why I wanted to do this episode on something so simple but important as those 5 brand words, because even just having that, you know, in your toolbox, if you had nothing else, will help you so much in showing up in the right energy, in making sure that your content, you know, everything is absolutely representing you and your brand exactly how you want.
Exactly. And like you said, it can even inspire, like if you're having one of those days where you're like, what do I need to create next? What content do I need to put out there for my ambitious introverts, right? And you go to your key brand words and you're like, growth, potential, understood, friendliness, right? You're all these words, you're like, well, great. Let me write about growth today to fulfill your potential. Let me write about that in a way I haven't talked about it before. Or, you know, there's always so many angles. I always take my words, and what I do is I do like a total brain dump, a brainstorm under each word. And then if they overlap, it's totally great, right? Because then you're using more than one word. but just brainstorming all the different ideas that come when you're trying to show up in that way, right? What kinds of content can you create? And also it can even inform what kind of offers you want to have in your business.
Yeah.
Right? When you
Yeah,
understand your
absolutely.
client so well, and you know this is how you want to show up to serve them using your 5 words, you can really start to craft an offer that's going to be unique to your clients and doesn't necessarily look like everybody else's.
Which is absolutely perfect in terms of standing out in the very noisy online space that introverts often worry about.
Yes. And especially for introverts, by the way, would have to speak so highly to them, because as an introvert, you don't want to waste your energy trying to serve everybody, right? You actually do want to create a niche for yourself so that you can pour all of your energy into the thing that you do best, into the people you know best, to the people that you can actually serve best and get to the solutions that they need. So by creating a niche, by creating an ideal client profile, you're actually saying, I don't have to disperse my energy. I can focus it right here.
Which is just perfect.
Yeah.
Hilary, thank you so much for chatting to me today. Before I let you go, I'd love to ask you if you could just recommend one book to ambitious introverts that were growing a business. Which book would you tell them to read?
I would tell them, especially because it really jives with what we're talking about today with the beginning of creating your brand perception, is I would start with Why by Simon Sinek.
Love that book.
It is one of my favorite books, and a lot of people know about it these days. There's Start With Why, and then I think he has a follow-up book called Find Your Why, which is the literal like how to do it. But I would start with Why, because it basically helps you step back and get that perspective on your bigger purpose and why you're doing this thing, which in this case would be starting your business, creating your business, growing your business. And also really, it is about fulfilling your potential. Understanding your why is where people, it's like what you want to share with people so that they feel connected to you. When people share their why, it's like you understand that. Like, I'm using your brand words.
You're using my brand words, but that's fine.
But it's so true. And I think it's so important. So if you've never read it, or if you've read it, I actually recommend read it again. It'll re-inspire you all over again. But Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And honestly, anything by Simon Sinek is going to be your best friend.
Perfect. I'm going to pop that in the show notes, and I'm going to pop all of your contact details as well. But for anyone listening that can't get there right now, where's the best place that they could connect with you online?
Yeah, they should go to my website, which is just hilaryhartling.com.
hilaryhartling.com. Hilary, thank you so much for chatting to me today.
You're so welcome. This was such an honor. I loved being here with you, and hello to all the ambitious introverts out there, because you are in good hands with this podcast and with Emma-Louise.
Oh, thanks so much, Hilary. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ambitious Introvert Podcast with me, Emma-Louise Parks. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. As a thank you, one lucky reviewer each month will win a 60-minute one-on-one coaching session with me, where you'll get the clarity and confidence to attract your ideal clients. And if you know someone who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach as many fellow ambitious introverts as possible.